I enjoy doing it. So it doesn't matter if I make money or not, because I'm able to create something that's truly mine.
That's what we want to do here. We want to take you to the next level. We want you to achieve your goals. Coming to you live from FXV Digital Design in beautiful Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, it's Fred Talk, the awesome podcast featuring awesome people. Visit us online at fxvdigital.com and your favorite social networks at FXV Digital. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. I am your host, Freddie Vasquez, and with me is my producer and cuter half, Angie Wicks. Today we have the honor of speaking with Adam Kenderdine, the barista that speaks to the dead, according to Angie. Adam, what's up, bro?
How are you?
That was pretty good. I like that title. That was funny.
Right. Well, I've never had that before, so that was fun. That was a new one.
Good. I'm glad
People
it's
like
fun.
the intro. They
Yeah.
do. They think
The
it's
intro-
cool.
You know what it made me think of? It made me think of like Wayne's World when they're in like the production set and like they have the sound guy and it's like Noah's Arcade. That's what it kind of sounded like. Very professional like that,
Thanks. We
Yeah.
need a Noah's Arcade to sponsor the show.
right?
If anybody knows Noah's Arcade, let us know. So, dude, man, thanks for coming in, of course. And congrats on the Pillars Retreat.
Thanks.
You got back from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, man. How was like was that your first retreat ever, or your first experience where like people were there to just, learn from you?
Yeah, it was really a great experience, and it was fun to put myself out there like that and really just learn and grow from the whole thing. And it was, my first time in that kind of setting.
How'd you
Very
feel
much so.
doing that? What was it everything you ever wanted it to be?
I think so. I actually was very impressed with how things turned out. Typically when people go through the seminars and the retreats and that kind of thing, people are all excited upon leaving, and then as soon as they get home, it's like nothing. It's
Right.
like they just lost everything. But with the 8 or 9 people that we had at the retreat, they're still doing the work, and they're still being inspired and inspiring since the retreat. And a lot of them have, pulled so many triggers in their life, as far as even resetting a schedule to be more efficient with their time and sticking to that. Business deals, business moves. Someone bought a property in, I think it was like Florida near the beach that they've been looking at for a while. They pulled that trigger.
Huh.
Some people have adjusted their relationships because of it, and they're just continuing to grow, and that's just awesome to really see that.
Right on, man. So what was your part of that retreat? Like, what were you helping those 8 or 9 people with?
Pretty much I was helping on I led the spiritual side of things. So through meditation, how we can get insights into things that we should do for ourselves, or things that we can do as far as in the future that we can, things that we can achieve or get better clarity on things, so we know how to move forward in our lives. So, and a lot of it was business centered, but also I gave everyone a reading, which was about anywhere between 12 and 20 points, and each point went with either something that they had to change in their life, something that they needed to take notice in their life, or there were some business things in there as well that really helped them realize certain patterns and behaviors that might be limiting them in excelling in business a little more, or limiting their beliefs in relationships, or whatever it is. And also telling some people that certain things that happen in their life was not their fault, and then they can let that go and they can move forward. And sometimes we carry those things with us, and it's just this big, 50-pound ball that we carry around that, slows us down from really progressing further. And being able to release some of that so that you can move forward and realize, some of the failures that we've had in the past are to make us stronger and not hold us back.
Yeah, man.
So
I
just
could dig
pointing
it.
all that stuff out and, really just saying, and a lot of it, people in the back of their mind were thinking about it. And then I wrote it down on a piece of paper for them, and it just made it real. Like, so, that was pretty profound.
I love the writing down thing.
Right.
I think the writing down thing in any aspect of your life makes everything real.
Right.
Yeah, and then it's 2021, and I still find myself having to grab a notebook or a piece of paper or a post-it or something and taking
Right.
that pen and writing these things down and knowing, okay, this is what I have to get done, or this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to make real. Because I feel like when you just keep having those thoughts in your mind without doing anything with them or physically putting it somewhere, it's just a thought.
Right.
It's just a dream.
Well, and that's the way the universe distinguishes a lot of things is if it's in your head, it's just a thought. There's nothing tangible behind it. It's just a thought. But the magic is either in speaking it out loud or writing it down, because that makes it real. Saying it out loud, I am going to do X, Y, and Z, that makes it real. That puts energy behind it. Writing it down, the same thing. I want to do blah, blah, blah. Like a business plan.
Right.
You can have the idea in your head all day long, but until you actually speak it out loud or until you write it on a piece of paper, it's not real.
Right.
And then you just got to take the steps after it to turn it into a tangible thing.
It's like a mantra.
Right.
It's like it becomes your mantra, which is this book I've been reading by Justin Schenck, Bad Habits or Have Habits Like a Badass. I always forget. I'm terrible at remembering things. But she says it in there. Like at one point, she tries to guide you through what your mantra is, and you should always develop it or change it or as you see fit. Because obviously you have a mantra on day 1, you might be able to evolve from it by day 20.
Right.
But the whole time she's like, say it when you wake up in the morning, say it before you go to sleep at night, say it multiple days, and say it out loud. Again, to just push it and make it real and attract that energy, that you're talking about in the universe to make these things happen for you.
Right. And if you speak positively, positive things are going to happen. And if you speak negatively, negative things are going to happen. And that's the power of, spoken word within the flow of the universe. But it also is, the first 2 steps in manifestation. Everyone's always just, I'm going to manifest this and I'm going to manifest that. But, until you write that down, speaking it is step 1 or thinking it is step 1. And then, saying it out loud to yourself is fine, but it doesn't take action until you start writing it down. That action of doing that. And that's going to continue to take those steps to bring it to reality. I mean, that's just the basics of manifestation. The problem is most people just get stuck on the thought thing. And they think that if they just think it, it's going to will into reality, and that doesn't happen.
No, they get so stuck on like, I can will it. I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to will it to happen. It's like, well, that's awesome. And like, I'm totally with you, and I'm glad you're thinking like that, and you should be thinking like that, but you got to do the work.
Right.
Just you got to do something. It just doesn't happen.
Right. And it's like people, my example is always with manifestation is I'm going to win the lottery one day. Well, did you go out and buy the lottery ticket, or are you just thinking you're going to win the lottery? What action did you put behind that?
Right. You have to put action behind all kinds of things, man. Yeah. Just because you think it doesn't mean it just happens.
Right.
You want to attract the positive energy, but even when you attract that positive energy, it's almost like you have to do something with it.
Right.
You can't just sit there and go, okay, like, it's the good old saying, lead a horse to water, man.
Right.
That whole thing. But so talking about manifestation and positive thoughts and spirituality, how did that play a part in you opening probably the greatest coffee shop on the planet?
How I got into coffee was because I quit drinking. I went through a period of, heavy alcohol abuse, and probably could have been easily said to be an alcoholic. And so I just quit drinking one day just because I couldn't keep doing it anymore.
Why'd you start drinking, bro? Why'd you get to that point?
I think, anyone who, I in college, that was the fun thing to do.
Oh, well, yeah.
You
I remember
know,
that.
and then, and then, after college, just not thinking that you're going to be able to do all these things, and it just doesn't take off right away for you. But you go out, you have fun, and I worked a few different jobs where I was working second shift, so there was nothing to do after work to wind down except go to the bar. And I just continued that party lifestyle from college through, and got to a point where I was either going to really hurt myself or hurt someone else. And I made, that decision. And there wasn't anything that, there wasn't one moment of clarity. It was just kind of like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I just got to shift. So I shifted from alcohol to coffee.
Right on.
So, I switched one vice for another. And then, it just was learning more about coffee, because you get into beer and you get into whiskeys and how this is made and what these things are. Well, you can do that with anything.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how the approach I took with coffee was, well, I want to know how it's made, and started to get different things, and it just developed into a business, because I was bringing in good coffee and I wanted to share it with other people. And then I started, well, why am I buying coffee when I can probably make my own coffee?
Right.
So then I figured out how to roast coffee in, my kitchen, and I started sharing it with people, and people wanted to buy coffee from me. And so I started selling coffee at a bag at a time, but I could only roast 2 ounces at a time. So it took all night for me to make one bag of coffee for someone.
Wow.
Didn't you roast your coffee in an old popcorn thing?
Yeah.
Popcorn pot?
Yeah. It's one of the old ones that the air popper pops into a bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those things. Yeah, I had
That's how you
4
roasted
of them on the
coffee?
table. Yeah, that's how you can start roasting coffees, with an old popcorn popper.
I have a popcorn popper because I don't like the butter and the salt and all that stuff.
Right.
Honestly, I just can't have it. I mean, who doesn't like it? I just can't have it.
Right.
But when you pop just kernels with nothing on them, it's a snack.
Mm.
But anyway, so I have one of those, but I have the one where it's just I guess there's air at the bottom, and it blows air,
Yeah.
and that you can use to roast coffee.
Yeah. Hot air is more or less what you need to roast coffee, but you need to get it to a certain temperature. I mean, you need it to be 400 or 500 degrees for a certain amount of time to actually bake that bean, because coffee beans are seeds. They're
Right.
seeds of a berry. So it's like trying to roast the seed of an orange. It's got that toughness to it, so it's not it's gonna take high heat and intensity to really change the physics of that bean, that seed, into a coffee bean.
Well, what is it about coffee, man? Okay, so I understand, you were drinking heavy and you want to switch vices for another vice you were saying, but I want to know why coffee? What is it about coffee that you're just yo, man, I just want to just make the best cup of coffee to the planet? What's about it that just makes you do this?
I think it also satisfied a creative need for me too. I could build something with my hands, and it is me making it with my hands. Is also very satisfying as well, because if you build something with your hands and you complete it, I mean, that's a hard feeling to mimic with anything else.
Yeah.
So having that sense of accomplishment, is a driving force as well.
And I know what you talk about, using your hands, and I don't know if many people know about this, but you started fixing or building watches.
Right.
And that was, I remember you were doing that for a minute there too. I guess it was during COVID? Was it a COVID thing?
It was before COVID. It was, no, it might have been during.
I'm sure it was during COVID, but I don't remember when you told me that you were doing it.
I think it was, it was back in 2019. It was before COVID. But, I shifted the hours of the shop, so I wasn't killing myself anymore. And I was slowly dropping the hours back, and I felt like I needed a hobby. to satisfy time, or else I would just sit at the shop
Right.
and just keep working.
Right.
So I needed to shift my brain to something else that was a little more therapeutic than just thinking about business over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And actually, this is the watch that I made, and I had a little bit of money that I was starting to pay myself with from the business, and I wanted to buy myself something nice. And I was looking at watches, and if you want a quality watch, watches go. You can spend a few $100, or you can spend a lot of a few $1,000s on
Yes.
watches. And I never found anything that was like quite sung to me. But then again, like I figured out how to roast coffee, so I challenged myself to figure out how to make a watch. So I bought pieces and parts and put it together and made my own watch.
That's sick.
That's insane. I mean, I love that stuff too. My grandfather
Right.
used to do watches. Well, I've told you about that.
Yeah.
The grandfather clock and all those great things you told me about.
So I very much know surface level watchmaking, but I'm not too deep into it where I could probably fix something.
Yeah, I don't know how.
But
I mean, I'm sure my grandfather could have done all that. I mean, I love the grandfather clock he made he made it for himself, and then when he passed on, I was able to get that from my mom. I remember telling my mom, I was like, "Listen, I need you to get me that clock." He actually made 2 of them.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need the one that's above his workbench, next to where he sat in the living room. He used to stay in a small little apartment in Astoria, but he would sit in this chair,
Yeah.
and that clock was right above his like workbench, and his workbench had all his like watch tools and stuff like that in it. So yeah, and I love that thing. Like, I don't think I love any other object that isn't alive more than that.
Well, that was probably his favorite one if he kept it above his workstation.
That's what I mean. Like, I
Right.
kind of felt like that would be the one, and like the amount of cool things that happened to me, with that clock being in my possession. You talking about spirituality and stuff is, I mean, forget it. We could talk for hours on like the things
Right.
that I've experienced with that clock. So, but yeah, man. So you love coffee. You love making things with your hands.
Yeah.
You roast it. I know that part of your past is that you just started selling coffee at farmers markets first.
Right. So I started selling here at the in West Reading at the West Reading Farmers Market on a Sunday morning. So it would take me, all day on a Saturday to roast everything I needed for, a 4-hour market in the morning on a Sunday.
All day Saturday for 4 hours on Sunday.
Right. And then, so, yep. And I would do that every Sunday from, mid-April through the end of November.
Wow.
For, I think, 2 or 3 years.
Passion.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed it. You know what? It shifted my brain. So I was focused on doing this, then going to the bar. Like, I have no desire now to really do any of that stuff that I did in my 20s. It just drove me in a different direction. Instead of thinking about going out and having a drink or going out and spending money, doing, self-destructive things. Well, for me, it was self-destructive things, to something that I could maybe possibly one day make a living doing or just enjoy doing. I enjoy doing it, so it doesn't matter if I make money or not because I'm able to create something that's truly mine.
Yeah,
Man. So that's just what I enjoyed, and I looked forward to, market every Sunday.
Right on. So how long did you have to do the farmer's market for?
It was, you mean time-wise?
Yeah, like how long were you doing that before you got the nice, awesome place there on the corner?
About 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, because it was 3, and then I rented space out of a restaurant in Fleetwood for just about 2 years, and I worked out of that, but I still worked all the farmers markets. And then I left the space in Fleetwood, and the opportunity here in West Reading opened up, and I jumped on it and kind of bootstrapped my way into opening.
So what do you mean bootstrapped?
Bootstrapped? So through the whole process of me building my business, I never got any business loans. So it was mainly me out of pocket funding everything, and anything I made, I put back into the business and bought a little more coffee or saved to buy a bigger roaster or that kind of thing, and just kept putting it more into business. So that way, and I started buying equipment slowly. So when I did find a space, I could just drop it in and start going. I didn't have like a big grand opening, and I didn't have fancy equipment when I first opened Benchwarmers. A lot of it was used beat up equipment that I was dragging around with for like 5 years, selling coffee at markets on a weekend. And I was just able to find a space where I could just pretty much clean it up, make it my own a little bit, but just more or less turnkey the space and flip it open. And, it didn't take a whole lot of money to do so. So I never had a business loan or anything like that. I mean, family members and, a friend gave me some money for the startup to really get things going, but it's not a significant amount, I just used what I had and just made it work.
So why the name Benchwarmers?
Originally, I wanted to put coffee stands in sports stadiums because I actually got the idea for Benchwarmers at a Philadelphia Phillies game.
Boo.
I know, how terrible.
We sucked last night, by the way.
But hey, it's what it is. I mean, it's what it is. But it was about the time that I had quit drinking. I got 2 tickets to Phillies game. My date just didn't go. But so instead of just, saying screw the game, I went to the game by myself, and it was July. It was hot, and I spent probably a quarter of the game walking around the stadium looking for coffee because I didn't want beer. Because I made that choice at that time to not drink.
Right on.
And I didn't necessarily want soda either. And to find any other options for a beverage was very hard to do in a huge venue like that.
But July.
In July, yeah.
July.
Yeah.
Daytime?
Yep.
So July, pretty warm day, I would say.
Right.
And you were like, I really want a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Why not? I drink hot coffee all the time. It doesn't matter. I'm not a cold coffee drinker. I mean, half the time at the shop now, I start with a hot cup of coffee, but by the time I'm able to actually drink it, it's lukewarm, room temperature anyway. But I enjoy hot coffee any time of the day, any time of the year. And that's just what I wanted. I didn't care if it was, sludge coffee that was sitting in an urn somewhere just reheating all day long.
In an urn?
Or not, but there was like nothing there. And I was like, out of a whole stadium of probably 100,000+ people, I can't be the only one that wanted coffee.
No, of course not.
So I drove home and I just thought about that the whole time. And, the whole drive home was me thinking about this business and not knowing anything about business because I don't have a background in business. I don't have a background in the coffee industry or anything like that, but I just started thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, and it just became this idea that just gnawed at the back of my brain 24/7. So I just started working on it and just learning about coffee and doing all kinds of things. And YouTube, Google are excellent resources for anyone that are trying to start a business. So if anyone out there thinks that they don't have the know-how, you have it at your fingertips with YouTube and Google.
Especially
you can
nowadays.
figure anything out. You can figure anything out now. I mean, I'm talking 10 years ago when I was able to figure this stuff out, so, and then just trial and error, more failings than successes, but I just learned from it and kept moving forward.
Well, you put that great meme up, I think, today.
Right.
The
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Right. The failures
really
are just
awesome.
a staircase to success.
Yeah, it's like you have all these failures and you're stacking them up, but then you went ahead and you were just like, you formed steps with each failure. And I'm like, dude, that's so brilliant.
Right.
That meme was brilliant because that's definitely, there's no way you can be successful in anything without falling on your face.
Right.
Impossible.
Right. And it's okay to fail. I think
Yeah.
some people realize, I think I had a hard time with that for a long time, of thinking I can't fail and it's got to be perfect right off the bat. But, you know, failure is part of the process, and being perfectly imperfect is part of the process as well.
Yeah, failure's learning.
Right.
There's no shame in failure. I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of things I've tried in my life or I've done with the business, or, you know, the crazy ideas I've had where I've tried to do all these things and they failed and never took me anywhere. And I used to be one of those people that just became very pessimistic, and I was just like, well, this sucks. Why am I wasting my time doing this? I should just find a job and just, you know, live that life.
Right.
And then you realize, no, that's just you being mad at that moment.
Right.
And you take those 2 seconds, you're like, all right, well, what did I learn from this? And I still make mistakes to this day.
I think that's part of the cycle. I really think so. I think you're always going to have a love-hate relationship with your creations. I don't think that's ever going to go. I think, you know, to various degrees, everyone's going to experience that in different ways. But I think you're always going to have that love-hate relationship, because I think that's just part of the human experience.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, and that's just the experience of growth too. You know, you're not always going to love it, you know, because life gets in the way sometimes. Or, you know, for me, I was killing myself at the shop. You know, I was working, my God, you know, 16, 20 hours a day some days, you know. So, and then just cutting that back because, you know, my body can't do that every day.
Yeah.
You know, for that sacrifice, it just can't do it.
So I really enjoy the story that I want you to share here on the podcast is, so you were just doing coffee for a while. And then, if I recall correctly, you went to a class or something to learn how to make like French pastries, because you always
Right.
thought about having pastries in your shop.
Yeah.
But then you ended up learning how to make donuts instead.
Right. So I was teaching myself, well, as I was opening, I was teaching myself how to make different kinds of desserts and French pastries and that kind of thing, because I wanted to be different than every other shop, you know, on the avenue here or just in the area in general. And so I was going to do coffee and desserts and make all kinds of different desserts. Well, it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. And if anyone's baked before, especially done like French pastries and all the fancy stuff, it's very a delicate, fine process. It's very finesse and sciencey. You know, just regular cooking, if you add a little too much salt, you can counteract that with something else. You can't do that there. So it's a delicate process to do. And I respect the people that are very good at it, because it's tough and it's time consuming. But I ended up doing that, and I thought I should go to pastry school to learn how to do that. So I was looking at things, and then I saw that the Walnut Hill School, it's a culinary school in Philadelphia. The name escapes me, but it's like Walnut Hill. They do.
The restaurant school at Walnut Hill College.
That's it. Thank you, Jamie.
Yep. I was thinking the same.
You're welcome. I love that compliment. I'll take it all day.
Right. But they offer classes to the public, and like literally a week before we opened, it was about a week before we opened, on like a Sunday afternoon, they offered donut making classes, and I was like, oh, that's something that I could do too in the mornings. And so I went and did it. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that I've done in business and a lot of the directions I go, every time I take a class, it's me and all women. Like there's no other dude there. But I learned how to make a bunch of different styles of donuts. And then I just went back, and that week I just made batch after batch after batch of donuts to just try and perfect it and learn it and understand the intricacies of, you know, the dough and the yeast and all that stuff. So I literally learned how to make donuts a week before we opened, through a lot of trial and error, and just fine-tuned the recipe for us. You know, it's not the same thing that I had was given at that class. It's changed a little bit because of, you know, volume and need and all that kind of stuff. So it made it our own recipe. So, you know, and So the first week we were open, I was at the shop at like 3 a.m. making donuts so that they were ready to be, and decorating them, ready to be sold at 6 when we opened. And we were open until like 8 o'clock at night. And the Friday of the first week we were open, I overslept.
Oh.
And so instead of being there at 3, I think I got there at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. So I had just enough time to get the dough done, had it rise, get the shop open, and I had the dough rolled. But I had to open the doors at 6.
Right.
So as people were coming in asking for donuts, I was just kind of throwing them in the fryer. How many do you want? Oh, okay, boom, boom, boom. What do you want on it? And I just started doing it that way because I overslept and there was nothing that I could do. So it wasn't like the made to order thing. That was part of the plan. That was just something that happened that I needed to do to get the stuff out the door.
Wow.
Talk about divine timing.
Right.
That's crazy.
So then, but that was also awesome because then I didn't have anything left over at the end of the night that I had to throw away. But also it saved me like 2 hours of sleep every day.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So that one mistake, quote unquote,
saved us.
right?
And I think it made us unique as well because, it's made to order. So, none of our donuts, even still today, after they've come out of the fryer, sit for more than 2 hours before they're out the door, decorated and out the door. So they're still fresh within 2 hours. And
I can vouch for that.
right. Right.
Same, I got one today.
And you go anywhere else and they've been sitting all day long.
Yeah, I hate it.
So it's nice that we can do that, and it makes it a unique product. And then it's also unique to the person because they can pick whatever they want, and it's their own donut.
So what's the process when, like, okay, so if you haven't been to Benchwarmers, ladies and gentlemen, you walk in and there's this delicious smell of coffee and donuts in the air, and you get to ask Adam or Sam or one of his other employees there, hey, I'd like to have a donut. And the next question is, great, what do you want on it? So what process do you take to figure out what you want to even offer the patrons of this beautiful city that we live in?
Well, some of it was, creative, trying to figure out fun toppings for people, but also just basic combinations for donuts, chocolate with sprinkles, vanilla with sprinkles, and then giving them some fun names because, to help people choose something and just give it a fun name, made it unique to us, and it made it our own style.
And was bacon because we're both men and we love bacon and pork, and I call it God's candy.
Right. Well, you can use bacon for everything, and we use bacon as a substitute for sprinkles. So
the best substitute for anything,
right,
is bacon. That's my favorite one. Is the bacon. The original. Actually, I'm very vanilla, so my favorite was always the glazed in the beginning.
Right.
And I was like, just give me a glazed donut.
Well, I like glazed or cinnamon and sugar, something
Right.
simple. I don't need all the fancy, toppings or anything like that.
Because I feel like that's the best way to see if a place is great. It's like when you go to a pizza shop, just get a slice of regular.
Right.
Like have that slice and go, okay, what does this person have? Like you go to a taco joint, just give me a regular taco.
Right.
None of the crazy fixes. So I went in there, I was like, I just want a glazed donut.
Right. Because then you
Hook it
can
up.
taste the dough, you can taste everything.
Mhm.
You're not covering it up with all these fancy flavors and
Right.
everything.
And then you finally realize it's a tasty donut.
Right.
You throw some bacon on it, and it's remarkable. Like Jesus, one of the best things I've ever tasted was
Well,
one of your donuts.
Speaking of donuts, we have some sweet comments on Facebook.
Hey!
So, first comment is, of course, Justin. He said Freddie's looking slim.
What's up? Day 20.
Day 20.
Day 20.
75 hard.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and then we have Jason next. He said, best coffee in Berks. Appreciate all that you're bringing to the community.
Thank you.
And AJ Suero has been on, and he said coffee and being a Mets fan both require patience.
We have Tina Flood on Instagram. She's saying, I remember when he was at the Antietam Farmers Market.
Oh, yeah, I did the Antietam Farmers Market for a season
buddy.
or two. That was on a Saturday morning. Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome.
You have some fans out there, brother.
Oh, you definitely do.
Yeah, people love
And
it.
that's one of the keys as well is, doing those markets and being in the community. It was easy when I opened the doors for the shop because I already had, a few customers. It wasn't like I was brand new and had to go out and try and pull people in. I already had that customer base, somewhat of a customer base built, so that once I had that location, they were already there and then they could come in. So that was very much a key to success, and it still is a key to success.
Well, it's a testament to your character.
Right.
It's a testament to your character, how you treat people. How there's nothing better than food.
Right.
Food, so it's like coffee and donuts. You can't beat that. Which is amazing. And if you don't know, you decided to take it even another step further. And I still remember this. It was a text. It wasn't a phone call. It was a text you sent me one day. You're like, "Hey, I want you to taste test something." And I was like, "Okay, what?" And you were like, "Fried chicken." And I was like, "I'll be right over." And I think that was when I was was I still at the old office?
I think you were probably at the old office.
Yeah. And I remember leaving. I was like, "I'm going to eat chicken." I locked up that door. I ran over there, and you're like, "Okay, here's what I got." And you gave me the one strip by itself.
Right.
And then you gave me the sandwich.
Right.
And I was like, my man went to a whole other level. You took a donut and you put fried chicken in it.
Right.
What possessed you to say, I think I'm going to fry chicken now and throw it in a donut?
I was trying to think of something else we could do throughout the day that made sense in our setup. And not do anything that would be overcomplicated for my staff, where it would be simple to make and easy to make that we could do at a reasonable volume every day, and without having to carry a lot of extra stuff that we'd have to worry about. If we did hamburgers, we'd have to do, worry about all the fixings every day, and everyone would want different temperatures on their burger and all that stuff. And that can be overcomplicated for, a lot of people that aren't cooks or chefs. So, making fried chicken was just dip the chicken in brine, dip it in flour, throw it in the fryer for this amount of time. Just keeping it simple.
And it tastes amazing.
Thanks.
It's some of the juiciest chicken I've ever had in my life.
It took me probably about 6 months from starting to tinker with fried chicken till when I was ready to start selling it.
6 months.
About 6 months, because different recipes, different cuts of chicken, different styles of chicken. I went to some food shows just to sample different fried chicken to see what style I wanted, and trying to find different recipes as far as, we use a buttermilk brine. So, tinkering with the brine and then tinkering with the spices in the dredge, and then just going over the process of what we need to complete it, because it's, I don't want, and I didn't want to create something that would jam our systems up, or make it really hard for my employees to do. So going over the processes of everything, then it by the time I was ready, it was 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I can't believe it takes that long to figure out what. Look, food is food, so I get it. It's always evolving, but I didn't think it took you 6 months to do that.
Yeah, it was 6 months off and on. So it wasn't like I was working on it every day, but I was probably working on it like once a week, and I'd make some chicken and see how it turned out, and would go and share it with a few people and get their feedback, and then I'd go back and change things around and try it again, and how, and also just how we would keep the chicken, shelf life of everything.
Right.
Just trying to figure it all out. So that way I knew everything before we even opened.
Let's
on
go.
that.
I have 2 questions for you. So for like when you're doing these processes of trial and error, like how do you stay positive? Like, you take the failures and you're building the steps up, but like, are there times that you get frustrated and you're like, because I remember on Growth Now Movement podcast, you were like, some days I just want to burn this place down.
Right.
And other days, it's great. But I'm just curious of how doing the trial and error day after day after day for hours upon hours, like how do you stay positive throughout all of that?
You know what? For me, it's fun. At the end of the day, it's fun. It's that creative outlet, for me that I need. So it's creative. It's fun. But I enjoy the process, and I actually enjoy learning things. So for me, it's a hands-on experience of learning something new that I never learned before.
Right.
So as sometimes it can be frustrating, just like learning anything new or just doing anything. But, at the end of the day, it's still fun. It's still what I like to do. Sure. If I wasn't having fun with it, I wouldn't have gone that far with it.
Yeah.
So it's just enjoying the process, really. But knowing that, it's for me, it's just fried chicken. So how much do I want to get into that? And it's just doing the work and going through it and knowing that what the outcome is going to be. Right. Knowing that I'm still going to sell fried chicken no matter the process. I just got to get through these little bubbles or these little speed bumps, because it may be frustrating, but if you look back, that frustration that made you want to stop was probably very small and insignificant. And if you can just push through that or just get over that speed bump, just take a step back, breathe, relax. It's probably whatever's holding you up is probably not that serious at the end of the day. And, take a break from it, walk away from it, do whatever you got to do, come back with a fresh mind and just attack it all over again. And you'll probably go flying right past it.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Facts. Hashtag facts.
Right.
Right on, man. So what do you have, planned next there, Mr. Kenderdine?
Oh, gosh, I don't even know. Sometimes I have fun ideas and I just want to try them just to see if they work. And just like, okay, I did that. Now I don't want to do it. Sometimes it's just fun for me to tinker in front of my staff, because then they're worried I'm going to start something new. And how are they going to do their current job and have to do this whole thing again? Yeah. Like Sam loves when I do that, because, it creates a lot of fun for her when I start coming up and tinkering with new things, because she's worried about the systems as well.
Right.
And all my staff's worried about the systems. So, there was a lot of, with the development of the fried chicken, there was a lot of pre-walkthrough on how this is going to happen. Well, that's what my intention was. But one day I was like, we're doing this. And I talked to him about it. But then really going through it, it's just, I enjoy the feet to the fire aspect of the learning curve and just seeing how it's going to unfold. Because I'm sure if you talk to her about how we started fried chicken, I just came in one day and said, we're doing this today. We're starting it at this time. And this is how we're going to do it.
Right. That's kind of like what I did with Angie. I remember when we first started doing the podcast and we got Angie involved, it was all about, she just had one camera. And I remember we had the DSLR and we bought the soundboard, because I was like, okay, we should have better sound.
Right.
And then we threw in mics. Okay, that happened. And I was like, well, we could probably do better things. Like maybe we should get another camera angle or something.
Right.
And I was like, Angie,
what if we did this? And what if we did that?
He literally did that today. We got these mic stands today.
See, this is what I go with at my shop. I'm like, oh, we could do this. We could do that.
Yes.
We could do this. In my brain, I know we can do it, and I know we can get it done. But then, everyone else is like, what do you mean? What do you mean we're changing things?
I mean,
I didn't show up today to make changes.
Right. And that crazy board thing right there, the ATEM Extreme thing, I was like, okay, here's a new toy you need to learn. And she's just like, geez, Dad. But every time she's like, but then she learns it, and then now it's like, now we have this crazy production.
Where's
thing
the sound
happening.
effects board?
We were talking about that before.
That's
you
the
came
next
in.
step.
That's the
Literally,
next thing.
that's the next step.
That's the next step is the sound effects board now.
That's it.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get
Like
that
the Oregon
going.
lady at the ball game.
What was I playing before? You have no idea.
Oh
I
my
had all
God!
these-
Yeah, he was playing that before,
Right.
literally on his
Actually,
soundboard.
I have a soundboard for Dream League. When
Right.
I volunteer at Dream League, we do it on Mondays. Me, my buddy Tony Daskus, and Jim Holler.
Yeah.
We all go there, and I'll announce. And of course, when they first asked us to help, it was like, okay, just be there and announce. It was me and Jim, and then we got Tony involved. And then of course, I can never do anything simple. So I'm like, well, wouldn't it be cool if I actually tried to like really announce these games like old timey,
Right.
40s, 30s baseball. Then I was like, you know what I really need? I really need a soundboard next. So what do? I have my iPad, and I buy a special cable to connect to the system at the Dream League, and I have all these samples in there. So like all the charge things.
Right.
And I'm sitting there and doing all these crazy things. But I'll tell you one thing, man. You do all the little extras that people think you're just going overboard. But you end up just having a good time doing it.
Right.
And things just work out so much better. And there's so much fun to be had. And let me tell you, the Dream League, I can't wait. We're going to have Tanya Petrusniak from Baseball Town Charity. She's going to be coming to the podcast soon. We're going to have a great conversation and talk about Dream League. But if you don't know about it, look it up online. Do a little Google search. They're always looking for volunteers to help out the kids. I have a great time doing it. And when you sit there and announce and actually treat these children like major league ball players, and you see their smiles and they're running around those bases, man,
It's a good time.
dude.
Yeah.
Man. So, and doing those little noises, they love it.
Right.
They love it, man. It's so cool.
It creates the experience.
Yeah, man. It's definitely the experience. I it's all about the experience. It's all about the story.
Mm-hmm.
And we're flying around this solar system on a rock, right? That the whole thing, and
Yeah.
might as well do something cool while
Right.
you're on it, dude.
For
That's
sure, for sure. And so while I was stalking you, I found this picture, and I just really need you to explain it because I want to know the story behind this picture here. It is on the podcast now if you have not seen it.
Oh, so I am a priest or a minister or whatever you want to call me. I am ordained through the internet to legally marry people.
Yes.
That's sick.
You're not
Yes.
the first person I've heard who's done that, but
No.
it's very cool.
So I've performed over, I think I'm on about 25 to 30 couples
That's
Really?
awesome.
so far. Yeah. A lot of them were in my shop too. So a lot of people got married in a donut shop. I actually did I did 6 weddings through COVID so far. 7 weddings through COVID so far.
In
Yeah.
your shop.
One of them was outside the shop, but the rest were in my shop, yes. And I've done 2 weddings where the couples had their first date at my shop and then got married at my shop. So that
That's
was
so
pretty fun and
nice.
special.
Because I was going to say,
Right.
what makes them want to get married? Not that your place is not a beautiful
Well,
place.
you know
but
what?
what makes them say, I want to get married here?
Well, convenience. It's a lot of it's they just want to get married. They don't want a big thing, and I'm kind of like if you want a quickie wedding with not a lot of fanfare or a big deal, I'm like the justice of the peace, or if you want to go see the judge, it's along those same lines. I'm not a judge, but you can come to me and just get married quick if you wanted to,
So coffee, donuts, and marriages.
right?
Hell yeah.
So, but yeah, and it started because I performed the wedding for my younger brother. He needed someone to perform the wedding for him, so I got certified to do that so that I could do his wedding,
That's killer.
right? So I've done, that was family wedding was the first wedding. It wasn't like I thought of doing it for the shop and for the business. It was, for family, the first one. And then I was like, well, I can do this for other people too. And, so word spread, and then it became a thing. And now my name's on a list of ministers at the courthouse for, recommended ministers, that if people need to find one, I'm on that list.
That's awesome.
I
man.
think that's
Yeah.
so special
Yeah.
that you can do that for people. That's
Right.
great.
It's fun. We do a little ceremony, whatever they want. it's up to them, and we do that.
You look sexy in that black robe.
Right. Thanks. Yeah. My brother's wedding was fun because I wrote the ceremony, and they didn't have they had some input into it, but I put my own flair on it. So like the first reading in the ceremony was I read Huey Lewis's In the News, the lyrics to The Power of Love, made famous by 1989's Back to the Future.
That's amazing.
Right. I can't recite any of the lyrics right now because I can't remember it. I had it written down at the time. And then I closed with a quote from Method Man for my brother.
And which was?
Sweet like morning dew, I took one look at you, and it was plain to see you were my destiny.
He looked you right in the eyes and said that too.
I did.
I felt it.
You did. That's the power of love.
The power of love, the power of the woo, the power of meth.
Right.
That's hilarious.
So I don't want to leave without just bringing this up, because obviously Angie and I were talking about it, and Angie's very big into it, and she created the beginning, which said that you're the barista that speaks to the dead.
Mm-hmm.
But you're very spiritual, obviously, right. And we've had some instances where you performed ceremonies or Reiki on me, and you've helped me when I've had pretty down moments in business or in life,
right?
And I think it's very amazing and very fitting for a man like you to be this big moose type of being, yet you're very soft-spoken. But I don't know what maybe the exact title it is for you. I don't know what
I don't really have a title for myself and say this is what I am. I tell people that I'm like a medium or a psychic, whatever you want to call it, is pretty much what I say.
Right.
With those words. But yeah, I am those things and a little bit more too. But basically, yes, that's, I'm a medium or a psychic as well. And I've been developing those skills quietly for the past few years, just trying to figure a lot of things out, trying to explain a lot of experiences. And to be honest, that path has, it's had its ups and downs, but it's been a lot of fun, like everything else that I've done. It's something that I've had experiences as a kid, and I closed the door at about age 5 because of those experiences. And, once I hit about 30, that door slowly started to open up, and I just hopped right on that and really tried to develop those skills. And actually, luckily, because of COVID and having limited access to business and everything like that, with all the lockdowns and everything, that I was able to spend more time working on myself through 2020. So as everyone else was doing whatever they were doing, I was meditating, I was reading, I was trying to figure a lot of things out, and I was learning to try and just understand a lot of things and to develop my skills, because you can always develop your skills and become better. And so I've been on a really hardcore path since March 15th of really all of 2020, but really in particular since the lockdowns happened, because I figured out that I could use the skills that I do have to help other people. So it really became important for me to try and make those skills better so that I could help more people.
I remember you helped me definitely a couple times, but I remember the one cool thing was we were talking about my other employee, and we had a conversation about her, and you because before that you were saying that I was going to have somebody on staff. It was a female, dark haired, and they were going to help me. That's who you saw coming. And then I thought it was who my other employee was, though.
Right.
And we had a conversation about that. And I was like, okay, it matches the description, kind of.
Right.
And then I talked to you and let you know what happened. And you were like, but then you brought up, you're like, you know what, Fred? I think the person we spoke about was Angie.
Dun,
Right.
dun.
Right.
Right.
And you were like, because this person, the reason why it's important that she's with you or on your staff is because she's going to challenge you.
Correct.
It's not just like, oh, just like an employee.
Right.
It's going to be different. And I was like, okay. And then I kind of take that to heart and I started listening. And I was like, yeah, you know, and every time I talk to Angie and we have our conversations, and even now we have our walks every day because of 75
Right.
hours. We do our one outdoor workout together. And she'll sit there and go, Dad, you should try this, or Dad, you should do that, or why don't we do this, or why don't we do that? And,
Right.
And I used to maybe blow it off, you know, especially when she was younger, like, you know, what do you know? You're a young teenager, you know, I got all this crap to deal with. Where it's like now, like, listen to her, and I go, man, like, this is so true how, like, Adam told me about this.
Right.
You know, amongst other things. Like, you helped me with my grandfather, and that was
Right.
a cool thing. So,
Yeah. And it is tough because it's tough giving advice to people when, you know, things come through, because you don't want to send anyone on a different path than where they're at.
right.
So I always wanted to make sure that free will's involved in anything that I do. But also, you know, you don't want to, also you can have the blue Honda effect, where if you start, where you're going to start seeing blue Hondas all
Right.
over the place. So trying to say, oh, well, you know, you're going to have an employee that's going to challenge you and make everything better. And it, you know, she's going to be a brunette. And I think I said Spanish as well. And so it's like, you're going to see, right.
But she's white.
But she's your
No,
daughter.
You know, it's just funny how she's Spanish, but she's like,
I literally reflect the sun.
Right. It's all right. But yeah, so if you take that description, you start trying to match it with everything, you know, walking down
Right.
the street. So it's you know, how do I deliver it in a way where, you know, that's not going to be affected, because that
Right.
could screw things up,
sure.
you know.
But I'm glad you told me.
Right.
I think it was very cool. I think it was awesome when you told me about my grandfather, which I still remember to this day when you were like, when I was like, you know, my grandfather's clock hasn't rung in a while and I really don't want to do anything to it. And I told you why, because his hands touched everything. So
Right.
I wanted, and it didn't work. And then all you said to me was, well, what would your grandfather say if he knew that his clock didn't work? And I was like, well, you tell me to fix it. He's like, exactly. And then you were like, exactly.
Right.
And then I fixed it. I ordered the piece, put it in there. Now I hear it chime, you know,
Right.
every day when I'm home, and it's cool. And it always reminds me of him. But it's cool to talk to you about those things, because I don't know. I trust you, obviously.
Right.
But I'm not like, oh my God, Adam's a psychic, I need to talk to him. Oh my God, he's a medium, I need to talk to him. No, it's not like that. It's like, because you never said that in the beginning when we first started hanging out. You never told me I was a psychic or a medium or whatever.
Right.
You gently let me know of these things because I guess maybe you felt something or saw
Right.
something.
And that's kind of what I've done, you know, all along is not really say it, but, you know, you have opportunities to work things into a conversation of saying things. And a lot of times it's just reassurance of things that people are already doing. And just to say, you know, well, like, of course you're a good parent, or of course, you know, this is what you should be doing, or, you know, good job on that, just to keep people going the way they're supposed to be going. Because it's not, you know, there's some things that are profound, but a lot of times it's just like, good job, keep going. You know, you're on the right path.
Right.
You know, as much as the path may be, you know, dark, or, you know, you can't see the end, or you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're still going through the tunnel. You're still on the path. Just keep going. And a lot of times people just need that reassurance.
Right. But it feels good,
Yeah.
personally, because I know even the couple of Reiki sessions we had, I just heard you speaking, and then you were telling me how, like, you know, the archangel,
Right.
you know, was down. And I tell you, people, I am not lying to you. I still remember that first experience. We were in this room.
Right.
And I was sitting in a chair right behind you, like in that area. And you did something, and I was just like, whoa.
Right.
I felt,
The energies come in.
yeah, it was just like whoosh. I felt something.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. And then near the end, I felt something again. And the clarity that I achieved that night, right? And you
Right.
told me, look, things might not happen for like a minute. And I was like, no, it's cool. I just appreciate you coming.
Right.
That night, I was literally laying in bed, and I stopped and said, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And I remember that, and I was like, that's what they want me. That's what this client, and like the brain opened.
Right.
Like it was so clogged or something.
And, I know a few different healing modalities to help remove energy. And so, like Reiki, you can heal some of the energy fields, but also a lot of times we're just removing energy that's stuck.
Right.
Or energy that you no longer need to carry because, we carry shit around with us that we don't need. That extra guilt or whatever it is, just blowing it out and getting rid of it. And, a lot of times too, we carry around other people's shit and don't even know about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it weighs us down. So just getting rid of that, and all that energy can affect the clarity in our own mind. So really just getting rid of all that stuff, removes that cloud, so to say. And, people can start thinking much clearer.
Yeah, I feel like I need to
Yeah.
go in for another session,
We can do that.
like soon, because
Yeah.
I feel like I need another Adam, to taking care of me and getting me back on the path I need to be on. But yeah, it's so cool. It's so interesting to be able to talk to you about those things.
Yeah, we can always go deeper another time on it if you want. I mean, it's a whole other probably podcast in and of itself.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
It's I think it's important to know that there's just more out there than what we can see.
Yeah.
For the average person, and that we're also all here on purpose. I always want to just say that anytime I have the opportunity in front of people, is we're all here intentionally. It's not like any of us are here by accident. We're all here on purpose, even to the point where we even choose our own parents before we even come here, so that a lot of things are laid out for us, so to say. But so it's, and if you just realize you're here on purpose, I mean, that's going to shift the way you're thinking. It might shift someone out of a tough spot because Jesus Christ, you're here intentionally. You chose to be here at this time. You chose to be here. You chose your parents. You chose to be here at this time, and you chose a purpose to be here.
What do you mean you chose your parents?
You chose your parents. So yeah, you totally did.
Because I've always heard that, we don't choose our parents. You know what I mean? Like they just make us.
We're all divine beings. So on the other side, we're all divine beings, and we're all growing our spiritual selves. So this is Earth. Some people call it Earth School. So you're here to learn and experience things as a soul being. So we're all here intentionally and on purpose to learn something, to help evolve ourselves on the other side. So we've all probably had a lot of past lives, and we're all constantly learning. So if your soul is to learn X, Y, and Z, well, the best opportunity for you to experience that is with this couple, and then that sets you up to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. And you pick the time frame you want to come back. You pick. So we all chose this time to come back and live during this period with all this shit going on in the world. And we all chose that because we all knew, as a soul being on the other side, that we could live through it, that our soul was tough enough to go through it. So if we are tough enough to go through it before we even took our first breath, we knew that it should make things a little easier for people to be able to live a happier life, and to know that they chose this and that they're living intentionally. Every breath that you take is intentional. That should provide some type of impact for someone. that everyone's special. Everyone is a divine being. You know, in the Bible, they say that we're created in God's image. Mm. And if you take that to heart, that means we're all gods and goddesses walking around. Why wouldn't we want to treat each other as such? Why wouldn't we want to not live, you know, the best life that we can live to our fullest potential? You know, it's just about taking what's inside and bringing it out.
Wow.
I mean, it's true. It's really true. And, like, I feel like even as a teenager and growing up with social media and things like that, it's hard to remember that, like, you know, you're here for a purpose. Like, remember to be present. It's also a very hard one for people like me to remember. So I think it's all really important.
The past is learning. The present is how we live. Mm-hmm. And the future is hope. Really is just how you have to look at it. Is really we're just beings living in the present, and, you know, just taking every possibility to be at our best, or to learn, or to grow. But, you know, everything that happened in the past, or, you know, this life's past, is for learning. Really, I mean, you didn't go through certain things to not learn from them, mm-hmm. and you didn't. You know, so we're all. Do you know how they make a sword, Fred?
Well, yeah, you temper
I love
it.
this analogy.
Yeah. So you want to make a stronger sword, you keep sticking it back in the fire. Mm-hmm. So every challenge that we've had is the universe just sticking it back in the fire to make us stronger. You know, some people just never get out of the fire, but that just means that they're just going to be a stronger sword. Yeah. Right. So, you know, there's a lot of, everyone has potential, and everyone can live, you know, a life of just true joy and happiness and abundance. It's just getting out of your own way, just lifting yourself up, just being, you know, one with yourself, and just understanding that there's more, but you have the ability to create your own more. You know, everyone's ability is within themselves. It's not from other people.
Right.
You know, but, you know, a lot of people have to work on self-love, self-worth, you know, have to work on their confidence. And then they're going to be able to start, you know, achieving more and taking greater strides in themselves if they just stop and they just focus on themselves, not in a selfish way, but in a positive growth way, that you're going to be able to. I'm kind of talking in circles here, but be able to do a lot more. Mm-hmm. You know, meditation's the foundation where you can connect with your higher self, your soul. You know, you don't always have to think that you have to connect with, you know, God or whomever. Just connect with your inner self, your gut, that little voice in the side that says, don't cross that street, and then the big truck comes through. Listen to that voice more. Stop being analytical in your head and thinking, or listening to other people as far as what you should do. You know, sometimes we listen to people that should not be giving advice.
Yeah.
You know, and then everyone's like, I should have trusted my gut.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've said that a million times.
You know, our gut's always right. That's our higher self. That's our soul saying, we should be doing this. Mm-hmm. We need to go this direction. You know, and meditation and just being quiet and just getting rid of a lot of distractions is going to help a lot of people. You know, there's too many distractions in this world to keep us down. Mm-hmm. You know, we can rise above that if we just get quiet and go within.
Mm-hmm. I have a question from my lovely stepmother. She's on the stream still. She said, how do you know what you're supposed to be or what your purpose is?
That's a tough question, and that's different for everyone. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it could be the fact that you're just supposed to be a parent in this life. Mm-hmm. You could just be a mom. It could be that you're just supposed to find happiness or joy, mm-hmm. work on your confidence. It might be, you know, you need to work on maybe compassion. So it's nothing. Our purpose here is never to accumulate wealth or be famous. Right. Mm. You know, it's the basic needs of you know, emotion or you know, other things like that, but it's not ever to accumulate a ton of wealth. You know, it's like I have to learn how to be happy in this life, or just be a little more compassionate, and not necessarily compassionate with other people, compassionate with yourself.
Amen.
You know, or just not being, you know, because a lot of the work is internal. It's not always external.
Right.
So it could be almost anything, but meditation is going to help with that, and just trying to go from there, and just be open to any messages you receive.
But your purpose does it always come from within?
Well, your purpose for this life was you chose that before you took your first breath. You chose your purpose, then you chose how you were going to be born by your parents. And then, you know, and that kind of thing. So that was all, you chose that before you even came. That's your life contract.
I did this to myself.
Right, you did this to yourself. But also too, like you got to think too, if you had a rough childhood, and you know, just on a simple surface level and not going too deep into it, but if your soul knew that it could go through that productively,
it's just tempering the sword.
Right. It knew that it could blow right through that. Now, you know, the human experience is not easy by any means, but you knew that you could get through that to get to an end result. You know, so I think some people just have to realize that it's a learning tool, you know, and sometimes it's very terrible. But there can be beauty in that too. And just trying to find that, it can be a challenge for people as well.
And that's what makes it great at the end, is when you go through all those hard times and all those challenges and you come out on top, you know. And I believe that too. In a sense, I always said that God will never give you more than you can carry. Like,
Correct.
you know, a lot of people, like, you know, they get stuck every day. It's this, or every day it's that, or something else gets thrown onto their shoulders. And that's the only way I've been able to get through my own life, is when I'm just like, hey, man, you know what? You wouldn't have this on your shoulders if you couldn't handle it.
Right.
So, you know, take control of that and make it happen.
And sometimes we overcomplicate things, because that's what we do as a human, is we overcomplicate things. And I found that, you know, a lot more of my growth has come from simplifying things. And it's just, you know, you want to take this whole big thing and make it very complicated, but it's just this very little simple thing, and that's all you needed, and boom.
Well, Adam, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Thank you for sharing, you know, how you came about your life.
Thanks.
Learning about Benchwarmers and your spiritual side, which I'm gonna have you back on, bro.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about all the dirty, dark stuff.
I want to get into all of it. You know, I definitely do. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
Benchwarmers Coffee. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram, wherever books are sold. I think I'm Moose, the one and only, on Instagram.
Yes.
Adam Moose Kenderdine on Facebook.
Right on.
Benchwarmers just right down the road. Benchwarmerscoffee.com. You know, if you wanted to find me, you could find me.
Right on, man. Thanks again, brother. I appreciate everything you do for the community, especially for me at the holidays.
You're
always
very
helping
welcome.
me out in the blood drive and stuff. So
yeah, that was fun.
That was
fun.
It was like, man, you know, quickly, you know, I know the time's coming, but my man was able to raise, what was it, over $800 by yourself?
Yeah,
I believe
in cash,
and just cash from people that couldn't make it to your place. And you, it was like 100 gifts. I think you got
just about 100.
Just about 100 ornaments.
Gifts. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, amazing.
Well, it's for the kids, man.
For the
You
kids,
gotta do it for the
in
kids.
front of me. So great.
Right.
2 Santas.
For the kids, man.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for checking out this episode of Fred Talk. Visit us online at fxvdigital.com or your favorite social network at FXV Digital. Check out past episodes of Fred Talk on our YouTube channel, and make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. For my man, Adam Kenderdine, Angie, and myself, thank you for watching, and never forget, your Uncle Freddie loves you. Peace.
Bye, guys.
That was good.